One of the cores of Trump's re-election message is that Hunter Biden made a lot of money in China and Ukraine. Maybe Joe too, I don't know. The theory is very loose, but it's that the son of Joe Biden, his opponent, was enriching himself based on stuff having to do with China and Ukraine. And here's the weird thing. We've got some news that unfortunately didn't come from a reputable source, like a laptop in a pawn shop. It comes from the New York Times. Maybe that's something about Trump's financial history with China, which arguably might be relevant to the election as well. If we're gonna be talking about people enriching themselves in China, maybe we could also talk about the people who are actually running rather than their relatives. And certainly in the past, we've talked about his own relatives enriching themselves in China. But again, it didn't come from a pawn shop, so I'm not gonna waste your time with it. So let's give you just a little bit from the New York Times' most recent reporting. And again, this is like the fifth story in a string of stories having to do with their renewed focus on his financial history, including from the tax documents that they were able to get access to at the New York Times. Mr. Trump's own business history is filled with overseas financial deals, and some have involved the Chinese state. He spent a decade unsuccessfully pursuing projects in China, operating an office there during his first run for president, and forging a partnership with a major government-controlled company. And it turns out that China is one of only 3 foreign nations, the others are Britain and Ireland, where Mr. Trump maintains a bank account, according to an analysis of the president's tax records. Again, this is coming from that. The foreign accounts do not show up on Mr. Trump's public financial disclosures, weird oversight, where he must list personal assets because they're held under corporate names. The identities of the financial institutions are not clear. The tax records do not include details on how much money may have passed through the overseas accounts through the IRS, though the IRS does require filers to report the portion of their income derived from other countries. Now they're not doing that, so presumably if there's money, then he's violating a law there. It's not super clear. In response to questions from the Times, Alan Garten, a lawyer for the Trump Organization, said the company had, quote, opened an account with a Chinese bank having offices in the US in order to pay the local taxes associated with efforts to do business there. He said the company had opened the account after establishing an office in China to explore the potential for hotel deals in Asia. Now, Mr. Garten does say no deals, transactions, or other business activities ever materialized, and since 2015, the office has remained inactive. Though the bank account remains open, it has never been used for any other purposes, although he wouldn't even say which bank in China it was. But interestingly, and we don't know if it's this bank. Until last year, China's biggest state-controlled bank rented 3 floors in Trump Tower, not 3 like rooms, 3 floors, a lucrative lease that drew accusations of a conflict of interest for the president. That is until last year. Years into his presidency, a massive state-owned bank was giving him tons of money. 3 whole floors in his biggest, most important, most financially lucrative property. Now, again, this isn't rock solid reporting like the blind guy with the laptop in the pawn shop, but the New York Times is doing what they can. He was making money from China while in a political position to give them something in exchange for it. Hunter Biden had Joe Biden. He wasn't president, so arguably it's not as powerful a position with which to cash in, but maybe it's worth at least a few minutes of our time in the run up to this election.
You know what, the part about this that's gonna help him is that, again, because there's details. And Americans, we don't do well with details. But again, it goes back to a very simple question. If his attorney wants to say that they have these bank accounts open, he was there for preliminary purposes to see what kind of deals we can pull off in Asia for hotels and everything, and then it's kind of come up empty. There's many ways to go ahead and prove to the American people that don't trust you, which the large majority don't, to prove to us that everything is on the up and up. Show us how nothing's funneling through these bank accounts. Show us what is coming through them. Tell us why that this Chinese company is rented out 3 floors of rooms in your building and how much knowledge you had about it. And then why you're so secretive about all of this. We all know why, because there's things in there that you don't want to tell us. Now, if it's anyone else, if this happens on the opposite side of the aisle, I can't tell you how much hair pulling is gonna happen from Republicans to say, can you imagine what's happening? They won't even be, can you imagine? They'll just say what's happening with absolutely no proof behind what's happening. They'll just come to conclusions. Did you know that he's running this many hotels in this country and that's what's going on? Like, but the fact that there's so much of this is gonna allow even us, not specifically us TYT, but specifically people that oppose this guy, to move on to the next, it's like, well, how do we really dig deep into this one and get him to answer? I don't know, maybe Leslie Stahl brought it up in the 60 Minutes interview right before he stepped out. Maybe she asked one of those very important questions. Well, where are the records? Maybe it was where. Maybe where of the easy questions was the one she pulled up. Maybe it was how. I don't know. How about why?
Maybe.
Whichever one of those things made him jump up and run, because there's way too many questions regarding this story that we don't have answers to.
Yeah, I don't even know what the questions might have been, but the fact that she hypothetically might have asked him is making me so mad that I want to leave the room and then pretend that it's a power move. I'm an alpha. I'm an alpha. Anyway, yeah, so here's what we have. We have enough potential conflict of interest that by itself is a problem. We have, like in some of the other New York Times reporting, we have the implication that tax law was being violated, but we don't know for sure. Because again, we still don't have his taxes, which years ago stopped being a thing that I was mad at Donald Trump at. He's never gonna release it. Now I'm mad at the Democrats, including Richard Neal, who hypothetically could have had access to it. And then also we have, just to jump ahead just a little bit, actually it's not jumping that much ahead. Not long after winning the 2016 election, Mr. Trump reported selling a penthouse in one of his Manhattan buildings for $15.8 million to a Chinese-American businesswoman named Zhao Yanchen, who bought the unit previously occupied by Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner. In an off-market transition. Mr. Chen runs an international consulting firm and reportedly has high-level connections to government and political elites in China, but I'm sure that Trump didn't know that. He apparently made a capital gain of at least $5.6 million from the penthouse sale in 2017 when he again was president. And here's the thing, man. Like I saw someone in the Twitch chats like, wait, what about the emoluments clause? And I'm sure it was intended as a joke because it is in practice. We have to remember that, like with so much, America, like in the words of the great Mike Lee, America is not a democracy. And I would only add that America is doing democratic cosplay. Like it has some of the trappings, but they're cheaply made at best. They're not doing their best. Yeah, we have an emoluments clause and we can hypothetically impeach people and we have all of this stuff. But like it's glued on at best. It doesn't really mean anything. Trump can do whatever he wants. He can get paid as much as he wants. It's cosplay. And it's the word, normally I'm into it. In this case, I'm not, I prefer the real thing.
Well, people show up at the conventions, in this point, his rallies, and they get a glimpse of it, like at cosplay conventions. They're like, oh man, I'd love to really get to know that person. Oh, maybe that person is real. No, they're fake, they're just dressed up. They're gonna go home and put on regular clothes. They're not really that person. It's a fantasy, just like you're saying, it's a fantasy. You show up in that way.
Yeah, ugh. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.